Hi friends, and welcome back to the channel. So before I left for my Rocky Mountain road trip, I had actually filmed this video and it was supposed to go up for you last week, but then so much of our trip changed that I found the video was really inaccurate. So I decided not to post it last week and instead refilm when I got back. So today I'm gonna share with you everything that I brought with me on my Rocky Mountain road trip and then what I actually used. So let's get into it. So starting with the bag situation, my original plan was to bring the 6-liter Peak Design sling. I had brought this bag with me to the island last summer for my honeymoon, and it's really versatile and I was able to fit all of my camera gear in it. So I kind of figured I was able to use this bag on this trip. But I'm pregnant, and I realized when I was packing all of my camera gear and stuff that there was also going to be some pregnancy essentials like my glucose kit and my belly belt that I needed to be able to fit in my bag as well, and I couldn't fit it all. Like I couldn't fit all my camera gear plus all my pregnancy essentials and a couple other things. And so I decided to switch up my bag, and instead of using the 6-liter bag, I actually just used my baby's diaper bag. So I picked this up in anticipation of our baby. It's got lots of pockets on the inside and I hadn't used it yet, so I kind of thought it was a good test run to see how this bag would work as our diaper bag, and I was able to fit everything in it. I was able to fit all my camera gear, all of my pregnancy essentials, so this backpack was great for kind of putting everything in. The problem is that it did get heavy. Like with all the camera gear, with all of my pregnancy essentials in it, it was pretty heavy on my back. And before we went on this trip, I was having back issues. I was on medical leave because I was having like extraordinary pain in my back and my SI joint. And so the first day on this trip, I was using this backpack and I quickly realized that this wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to be able to carry all of this stuff with me every single day. I wasn't able to carry this backpack on my back, and that if I continued doing it every single day, I was going to like ruin my back. So I ended up at the end of the first day popping into Lululemon, and I actually bought their Clean Lines belt bag in black. I had been eyeing this bag for a while now just because I thought it would be really great for like on the go, and then when we have the baby, just having like quick access to like stuff and whatnot. So I ended up just purchasing this while we were in Banff just after dinner time, and this bag ended up being amazing. Day to day, this is the only bag that I actually carried with me whenever we did things, because this is pretty much all I could carry. So that is the bag situation. That is basically what ended up happening. All right, so when it comes to camera gear, what I brought with me was one, my Olympus E1 Mark II body. You all know this is the body that I use, and I really love Olympus's camera systems because they are lightweight, compact, and weatherproofed. When you travel, you never know what kind of weather you're going to encounter, and you'll see in the Rocky Mountain road trip vlog that I'm going to post hopefully soon that we ran into some very interesting weather on this road trip. And then for lenses, I only brought 2 lenses with me. The first is the 7-14 millimeter, which pretty much like 95% of the time was on my camera body. And then my backup lens was the 12-40 millimeter. Normally the 12-40 is my primary lens when I go traveling, but because I've been venturing more into video and film, I decided to give the 7-14 a try, just because the crop factor of the Olympus just makes the 12 millimeter just not quite wide enough for what I'm looking for when I'm doing video. And so that's why I decided to give my wide angle, the 7-14 millimeter, a try, a go as my primary lens. And heads up, next week I am going to specifically be talking to you about how I found using the 7-14 as my primary travel lens went. So make sure you stay tuned for that video. The other camera that I brought with me was my Canon M100. Now, I haven't actually used my Canon M100 in a really long time. Ever since I got my Olympus, I pretty much stopped using this camera, but I brought it with me for 2 reasons. One, this was the first trip that I really took like a deep dive into video with my Olympus, and so I wasn't sure how it was going to work, if I was going to like it, if I was going to get frustrated with using video on the Olympus. So I decided to bring a backup camera just in case I didn't like video on the Olympus. And then the second reason is because one of the activities we were doing on our Rocky Mountain road trip was a hockey game. We had jetted up to Edmonton to watch a Colorado Avalanche play against the Edmonton Oilers, and I know from previous experience that when you go to hockey games, and probably the same applies for any other sports game, is there's limitations on what kind of lens, what kind of camera you can bring into the games. So I've been to a hockey game before where we had to go back to the hotel and drop off my dad's camera because it was too big. Like, he was using like a 60D, and I can't remember what lens he had on, but we had to drop it off at the hotel room because they wouldn't allow him into the arena with his camera. So I know at Rogers Place, I think it's like a 3-inch limit for your lens. So I figured the Canon M100 would do the job if I wanted to bring a camera into the game. I don't actually think I would have been able to get into the game with my Olympus setup because it's a 3-inch limit, and I want to say maybe the 12-40 is right at the 3 inches, but I wasn't really in a place either to run back to the hotel and drop off my camera gear if they wouldn't allow me into the arena. So I didn't want to chance it, so I didn't end up actually bringing any of this camera gear in with me to the game. I actually just used my phone for all of the video and the photos that I took during that time. So for camera accessories, what I brought with me was one microphone. So I did bring my Rode Video Micro, which I did use a couple of times on this trip. I didn't actually use the dead cat at all. I mostly just used the microphone, and it did fit in like my Clean Lines belt bag, so it was perfect. And it's pretty small and compact, so it ended up working. So did use this a couple of times. I also brought with me, and you saw it in my photography haul video from a couple weeks ago, the Ulanzi MT47 tripod and the phone tripod mount. Did not use either of these. So I bought these specifically for this trip because I wanted a tripod that I could put my camera on and I could maybe vlog or take self-portraits with. Didn't really end up though using this at all. Still really like it. I still like the cold shoe that you have on the side for like a microphone, and I love that I can put my Olympus on it and everything, and I'm not regretting this purchase, but I just didn't end up using it on this trip. And then I also bought the Ulanzi phone tripod mount because the idea was to be able to mount it onto my camera so I can take video and photos at the same time. But again, didn't end up using this at all. I actually found it wasn't that difficult to switch between video and photo on my Olympus after I kind of got used to it and used to like changing the settings really quickly between photo and video. So didn't end up using either of these two products, but I brought them with me anyways. I did bring a phone battery pack, which I almost forgot, but typically if I'm taking a lot of video or photos on my phone, then it tends to drain the battery a little bit faster. So I brought this guy just in case. You get like 2 to 3 charges out of it, which is awesome. Only used this guy once, and that was because the hotel room that we were staying in on one of the nights didn't have any plugins on my side of the bed. So I couldn't actually charge my phone at the end of the day without it being like all the way across the room. So just used this guy to charge my phone on one of the nights. Brought an extra battery and an extra SD card. So I was pretty much going through like one battery and a bit every single day. I did find that like doing video on the Olympus did drain the battery faster than when I'm just taking like still photography, and so an extra battery was like a must for every single day. And then I also had the extra SD card. So this guy is only 32 gigabytes, and I brought this guy and cleared it off just in case I did end up going through both of my SD cards in my camera. The EM1 Mark II has 2 slots for SD cards, so I have a 64 gigabyte slot and a 128 gigabyte slot, and just in case I went through both of them, I had like a little backup SD card so I didn't have to like delete photos, delete footage on the go and stuff like that. So these two ended up being on me also like every single day. And then the last accessory that I had with me that I was for the purpose of like everyday use was the Peak Design leash strap. Now this guy was amazing. I pretty much use this every single day. I don't think I took it off my I think I took it off my camera like once, and that was because I was trying to take a photo or something of something. But basically this guy stayed attached to my camera the entire time, and because of like my back issues and that I wasn't able to carry any weight, I pretty much wore my camera every single day instead of putting it in and out of a bag when we were like going to places, and then my Clean Lines belt bag, and like that was it. This was the whole setup. So I really liked the Peak Design leash strap. Someone did comment when I put up the photography haul video about how thin the straps were and if it was going to be comfortable, and I did find that the strap was comfortable during this trip. I never had a problem with it like digging into my shoulders or like, you know, rubbing or anything like that. Now keep in mind that when we went on this trip, it was like kind of wintry in the Rocky Mountains, so I was wearing like thicker sweaters and like jackets and stuff like that. And so maybe if you're wearing a t-shirt or a tank top in the summertime, this small strap could dig into you a little bit more, but I found on this trip, this strap was amazing. I love the length of the strap. It was perfect. I love how I was able to quickly clip in and clip off the strap for my camera. So definitely out of that photography haul, everything that I bought for the trip, this and actually the Clean Lines belt bag that I bought later on the first day of the trip were the best purchases. So those accessories kind of right here were all of the accessories that I is intended to bring with me like every single day. Obviously that was not the case. A lot of this stuff ended up staying at the hotel room or in the car, and I just kind of brought with me what I kind of figured I needed for the activity or the day. Some things that definitely stayed behind and that it was not on me all of the time were things like camera charger. This pretty much just stayed at the hotel the entire time. I also brought the Aputure MC light. I brought this for the purpose of if I wanted to vlog in the hotel room. Sometimes hotel room lighting isn't obviously the best, so I brought this guy just in case I wanted to vlog in the hotel room. Didn't end up using this guy. I also brought my laptop and my hard drive. Now I tend to like to back up all of my photos and videos at the end of every single day, so I always have like 2 copies of my photos and footage just in case. Now I don't always bring my laptop and my hard drive. It just depends on the trip because it does add weight and bulk to my luggage. And so if I'm going on a road trip or anything like that where I don't have to be concerned about how heavy my carry-on is, then of course I'll bring my laptop because it doesn't matter. We're in a car. But if I'm like flying somewhere, I tend to like assess whether or not bringing the laptop is necessary, because Max has an iPad, and so oftentimes we'll just bring the iPad because it is a lot lighter and a lot more compact than bringing a laptop and the charging cord and everything like that. But it is nice to sometimes have in the evenings because we like we're not really much people for like evening activities. Most times in the evenings we're just back at the hotel room relaxing, and so having the laptop is nice because you can like watch movies and stuff on it in the evenings. But did bring my laptop and my hard drive, but again stayed mostly at the hotel room or in the vehicle when we were like going between places. So this video is a much truer representation of what I actually brought on this trip and what I actually ended up using. Like I said, to be honest, majority of this stuff was left behind in the hotel room. I think if perhaps my back wasn't as bad, then I probably would have carried my backpack with all of the gear in it and everything. But because of the pain that I was experiencing, day to day, all I brought with me was my camera and in the Clean Lines belt bag, like maybe the microphone, the extra battery, and the SD card, and like that was it. So I feel like it goes to show that like this is what you bring with you on a trip thinking you're gonna need all of this stuff, but then this is actually what you end up using. So let me know down in the comments if you're like that, where you pack a bunch of stuff thinking you're gonna need everything, but then you end up using only like less than 5% of what you brought. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, then please hit that like button below and subscribe. Maybe buy me a cup of coffee, and I'll see you in the next video.